All right. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. It was weird to have not have to do this for the past couple days, but I'm back. It is Friday. TGIF. Welcome, everybody. As people roll in here, just want to say thanks for joining. And if you are watching on the replay, we go live Monday, usually Monday to Friday. We missed the last couple of days. I was traveling a bit, but we'll go Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time to about 8:45. It'd be great to have you here. So as the regulars roll in, the coffee crew, as we like to call them, I'm gonna have a sip of coffee on that note. Hopefully everybody had a good week. It looks like we had a couple of decent days on the market and everything else. So TGIF, as people roll in here, let's see who's here so far. Don't be afraid to say hi if it's your first time here. We always appreciate new people. If you're a lurker, that's okay too, though. It's all right. Stan, good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Hopefully you've had a good week. And Nadia is here as well. TGF. Nadia is drinking wine, it looks like, from the emoji instead of coffee this morning. I don't know. Is it 5 o'clock somewhere? Maybe 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's coffee for Nadia, but maybe wine later. MC, good morning. Always good to have you here. Always nice. Always nice. And how was the trip? Yeah, it was good. It was short and sweet. It was perfect. It was good. It was nice. It's good to see them. I haven't seen them for a long time. Not a long time, but few months. So always good. And then did like the late Christmas thing. So had turkey, and so it was good. Actually, it was good. I had like the turkey dinner with mashed potatoes and all the fixings. So it was nice. It was nice to have that. Have the traditional thing. You know, we don't really do any kind of gift stuff anymore. Obviously, I mean, my parents are older. Obviously, what do I need either, right? So we just kind of get together. That's the main thing. We don't go crazy with any gifts or anything like that. So just get together, have dinner, which is good. And yeah, exactly. Later wine. So for me today, it's back to work. It was nice to have a couple of extra days. It's been kind of that weird week too, anyways, coming out of the holidays and all that kind of stuff. But it was nice to have a couple extra days off, not have to worry about work, which was nice. But back to the grind today. Back to the grind. And there we go. So let us know in the comments if I haven't, obviously, we talk a bit about update on my portfolio. As everybody kind of knows, nothing happening with mine until next week. I'm starting to do those regular deposits into VDY, PSA, and then a little bit of fraction into the S&P, VFV. So that'll be happening again on Monday. So I'm gonna stick with that. It's kind of nice. I'm gonna take that kind of like slow and steady approach. I think this year is going to be my year. We'll see how that pans out in the next little bit. And it was actually interesting because I had a comment from, I don't know if they're watching, but J Value is one of the ones, and he had commented on my last video update. He's kind of saying nice collection. It was like he mentioned nice collection of VDY, and I hope to build that up. That's my goal for the year, to really kind of build that up, get those monthly dividends really bumped up. Is my 2020. I can't believe it's 2023. And I've already made the mistake of, you notice how when it's this time of year, you always miss that like the date rolling over. And I've done that already, referring to everything as 2022. And my work is lots of dates, and it was like, oh. Anyways, MC. Oh, and on this note, MC, you bought some shares of BAM, and so you bought BAM and added a bit to top up Aritzia. Oh, excellent. Aritzia is a popular one. I know I have a friend's wife has Aritzia, and she's done quite well on that. I always mention that to him when I talk to him on the phone. I said, has your wife sold her Aritzia yet? He's like, no, she's hanging on to it. So I know she's done quite well on that. So good for her. That's good. BAM. I have to watch still on the note on BAM, Brookfield Asset Management, for those that are watching. And then Brookfield Corp, they hold that the split and spinoff. I have to watch Candace's. Because I haven't been around. I have to watch Candace. I believe I should double check here. I believe she was. Let me just see if I can find it here. If she's posted it, I believe she was going to do like a face-off between She did, and she did it yesterday. So she did I have to watch it. I will watch that today. She did that. If people are wondering, between BAM, BAM, and BN, Candace on Mountain Finance did a face-off versus video. So I have to watch that. I'm going to watch that after this live stream. It's on my list because I'm still kind of deciding, because once a month I do the fraction, that fractional purchase, leaning towards BAM as well, MC. But last week the beginning of this month of last week, I just split it up. So we'll see. I might continue with that. I'll have to watch your video and we'll see. We always like coffee. That's always good. It's always good to have questions that aren't finance too. For my coffee, I make a French press. So when I buy the beans, whole beans, and then I grind them, and then just do a French press. Yeah, I find it works well because it gives you enough to, for a couple of good sized cups of coffee. It's not a huge French press, and then it's just easier because it's only, I just have my coffee black, and I just make a French press, grind the beans, and you're done. No have to worry about buying filters or running out of filters or buying pods and all that kind of stuff all the time. And the French press I found is a perfect size, because then I won't drink too much coffee. Because if I have a big brewed pot of coffee, I will drink it all. And and actually, in terms of the pods and stuff like that too, I used to have a really nice espresso machine that took the pods, and it was a machine from, I forget the name, I forget the brand. It wasn't Keurig, it wasn't Nespresso, but it was kind of like that. And I got it in a kitchen shop here. And the machine, and ultimately, the machine ultimately ended up wearing out, because as they do. But I had it for a few years, and the pods were from Italy, and they were the best espressos from any kind of machine that was kind of like that instant, pod machine. But the problem is I drank too many of them. So you have to buy you'd buy the packages of 10, and I'd be realizing I'd be having six espressos a day kind of thing. So I got rid of that. I didn't rebuy it after that. So French press. So I'm not too much coffee, but I usually just have coffee in the morning for the most part. The odd time in the afternoon, I might make like a half pot or something like that to have another cup, but very, very rarely. It wasn't Illy brand. I can't remember the brand, but it was really good. It was kind of like Illy. Hold on. But the problem is, I think it was imported by this, by the store. But hold on, I can find it here. Coffee. It was. Here, let me share it here. I think I can find it. As we talk about coffee. Oh, here we go. It was. Now the machine has changed a little bit. I can hear it. Let me. It's funny. I'll share this, MC, so you can see it. I was a kitchen store in South Surrey, White Rock area, and it was actually really good coffee, and it wasn't that super expensive. Here, let's share this. It's called Cafetali. It's on sale right now for the machine. So the machine was $100. Yeah, the machine, I think when I bought it was like about 139. So that's a bunch of right. They changed the style of it since I've had it, but they take the little pods, and it makes a really good espresso. Really good espresso. But I found I was drinking too much espresso. There we go. Cafetali. Yeah, it was good. It was good. On coffee. That's the problem with those pods. And if you run out of them, you have to go to the store to get them to make sure whereas I think a French press is pretty easy, because you can always kind of have beans. And if you run out, you can kind of run to any store and they have it. So that was it. So here we go. Brookfield Asset Management over Brookfield Corp. Or is it the other? Yeah, BN. I want the asset manager more than the corp. Yeah. Thinking of asset management arm will re-rate up to competitors. Okay, yeah, and I think BAM is supposed to be paying probably more dividends with some growth, where the other one is a bit more growth, not as much dividends. If I could be mistaken, I think that's how it works. I'll watch Candace's video, and I'll know more. It was easy when there was only one choice. That was the thing. But probably we'll stick with. I'm probably leaning towards Brookfield Asset Management as well, MC for sure. As we go forward. Yeah. There we go. So I've got a bit of news today, a couple articles which popped up. We're not going to talk about Tesla today because that's always seems to read in the news. So we'll talk about something differently. But in coffee, we can talk about coffee. What if there's a company that is a stock? What's a good coffee stock? And that's what happened to me too. You get all these machines and everything else, and it's just like, oh, you do the AeroPress. Okay, yeah, that works too. And that's the thing. The French press it's fairly easy because you can just throw the beans into the compost and then rinse it out. It seems to work easy. The only thing is they chip every once in a while. That's the problem. If you're not careful when you're washing it, they're pretty fragile. So, but they're not that expensive if you get a new one. I've broken a few, obviously, and but I don't have any machines and stuff like that anymore. Any pots of coffee, so just the AeroPress makes it easy. So good coffee stock, QSR. Let me search. I'm going to put this on. But what I'm doing for everybody's QSR, I'm putting all these. I'm going to make actually a channel watch list. Restaurant brands. Okay, do they hold? I'll have to look at what they are. I'm basically what I'm doing is adding, like, I'm starting kind of a little mini watch list, not for my own shares, but kind of all the ones that people mention in some of the live streams. So what I'll do is as people are watching them and stuff, every once in a while we'll pull it up. So I got to put it all into one trading view so we can kind of watch it all if anything kind of happens with any of the stocks or ETFs that people mention. That'll be kind of fun. And I kind of keep an eye on it too, so I can kind of see. So if I remember someone that mentioned something, we can always kind of look back and think back and look at it that. Oh, so they do Tim Hortons, Popeyes, Burger King. I guess McDonald's would be fun for coffee too. McDonald's coffee is not bad, actually. We did that poll, and the winner was obviously coffee at home, but McDonald's was up there. When I was traveling sounds like I was going for distance. When I was going to visit my parents, I stopped at Starbucks, and I haven't been to Starbucks for a long time. And it's like you pick up a couple coffees, and it was like almost $7 for like regular coffees. It's like, holy cow. So, because I forgot to pack, I didn't have time running around in the morning. Didn't have time to make the thermos. Forgot to make the thermos. So, but I should have gone. Yeah, there was no McDonald's on the way. So it's kind of like I don't mind their coffee. It's not bad for what you get, for what you pay. The thing with me with coffee is I'm a sipper. So it always gets cold, and McDonald's coffee cold isn't bad. Like, it's not terrible, but like if Tim Hortons coffee when it's cold is absolutely disgusting. So I stay away from Tim Hortons. Just my preference. Yeah, they don't have that thing, and that's right. I think they have it all stuff on their app now, if I'm not mistaken. I never really pay attention. I never really did that, just because I didn't go there enough to kind of make it worthwhile to hold it around. They had those stickers. These have the stickers, but I think they've moved everything to their app, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe they took the coffee thing away. I don't know. Yeah, they used to give. I think they still do for seniors, but I know they used to. That's right. You could go to the counter again and get a free refill. But I can see them cutting back because people will just hang out all day and drink coffee and don't buy anything else. That's the thing. Yeah. So I guess Starbucks would be another obviously coffee share to buy, right? But I'm thinking beans or something like that. What companies import beans? I don't know. To do some research on that. So restaurant brands is added to the watch list. We'll see. Okay, here we go. So let's pull up a bit of news, because obviously it's the new year, and a few obviously changes. Hold on. Oops. Let's pull up this first. The jobs news. If anybody's watching the news today, and I don't know how So Canada added 104,000 jobs in December, and it blew. So if you're reading this, it blew past estimates. The estimates. This is what I was always wondering. Like who does these estimates? These economists were way out to lunch. They were surveying 5,000 jobs. So however whoever was estimating those was way off by just under 100,000 jobs. So we've added jobs. So that what this kind of obviously looks like is rates, right? We'll probably see pretty much guaranteed. So unemployment's down. It's lower. It's down to 5%, nearing the record low of last summer of 4.9. And the sectors that were driven was full-time work and they were construction, transportation, warehousing, information, and like culture, recreational industry saw the biggest gains. There's still shortages in healthcare and social assistance sectors. So there's lots of jobs out there. That was, I found, like really interesting, because I was like, the forecast was way out to lunch. So I think we're guaranteed come this month, end of this month, 23rd or 26th, can't remember the date, Bank of Canada will probably be raising rates again. I think that's all kind of pretty much guaranteed now, because it's just, I mean, it's kind of mentioned here, the percentage probably 25 basis points again. And I think I read on Twitter that it's kind of like the estimate kind of moves into about 71% chance. So I mean, obviously anything can kind of change. It's like anything can kind of change day by day with all this kind of stuff. But I think we're kind of guaranteed for another rate increases, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But obviously, if we can bring down the inflation, it is a good thing. But again, higher rates means hopefully, if obviously you're saving, higher savings rates as well. That's a good nice thing, because that kind of brings me to the next article about TFSAs. And I found this one obviously because it's the new year and we have the new limit. Obviously we can put into our TFSA $6,500 extra. So if anybody's actually done that yet, let us know in the comments. I know there's a few people that were waiting for that to happen. It'd be nice if you're able to do it. That's awesome. I'm nowhere near that, unfortunately, but that's okay. Working there slowly but surely. But this article is kind of mentioning more TFSA like more new strategies that have to come, obviously, to rethink your strategy of 2023. And what I found this interesting, not necessarily the strategy part of it, but obviously the high interest savings of it. So if you have been having a savings account for, going back 10, the last number of years, you're making basically, it was like you're basically making zero, especially for the past couple of years. But what this was interesting, I found, is the savings rates now, like just the regular high interest savings account savings rates are in the 3 to 3.5% range, just depending where you go. Some of the other banks a little bit higher, right? If you can find a promo, I think Scotiabank they all have promos for different times. But interest rates now, based on that amount, are higher than they have been at any time since the TFSA was introduced in 2009. So I found that interesting. So because I remember when first kind of starting, where a lot of people, when the TFSA first started, I think a lot of people thought, okay, savings account, put it in that. But the rates, the savings rates now are actually higher than when it first started. So that was kind of interesting. I did find that kind of interesting. It just shows how it goes. Now with this, it does mention stocks on sale. We all know everything, yes, is on sale. But everybody, I think a lot of people are going more towards cash and savings. Obviously, if the rates are high, GICs, whatever, right? We've talked about how that happens, but just to be aware of, obviously, instead of necessarily putting stuff into TFSAs or savings or stocks or whatever, keep an eye on any kind of debt payments that you can make extra payments on is always a good thing too, because even though interest rates are higher that you're making your return on, that's going to mean your lines of credit, any kind of floating loans or debts are going to be increasing as well as rates go up. So sometimes the better return, if you look at the big picture, this is where budget and a financial planner would come in, which I'm not. But obviously, if your interest rate on something is 10, 12%, you're better off trying to pay that off than trying to get 3.5 from a savings account. So just something to look at. Obviously, looking at things to be aware of in 2023. I think a lot of people hopefully are starting. I know I had a friend of mine. She was starting a budget this year. So I don't know. I think maybe people are being more attentive to their savings and their budgeting this year, especially. Now, the last little bit on this one, which I haven't done a ton of looking into, just because I'm not looking to buy a home anytime soon. But there's also the new first home savings account. So if somebody is thinking of that, take a look at that with how that can possibly be used for savings. If you're planning to save for a house, that they're kind of saying here is, if you're looking at something able to do that and you maxed your TFSA out. So if you're saving for a house, it's probably a really good 2023 would be a really good time to sit down with someone that understands all these as well, to make sure that you're able to take advantage of anything that you might for down the road. Because I know the TFSA, if obviously you can take it out tax-free, right? You don't get any kind of tax benefit of putting it in. Where the first home savings account is more like a RSP, where you'll get your tax deductible going in, and as long as you take it out for a house to purchase a first home, it's not tax deductible. Now, there's some caveats in this too. It's as far as I understand, you can only have it active for 15 years. So it's going to be interesting how this all pans out. I don't know if it's a good thing, a bad thing. There's also still the RSP for first time home buyers as well. So there's lots of choices and options. So I think if anybody's kind of thinking of purchasing a home in the next 15 years or so, if you're younger people, really look at it and make sure you're doing it properly. And I would recommend even getting some advice to make sure you're taking advantage of any kind of options. And MC65, oh, excellent. So you moved over. So yeah, I think a lot of people are probably doing that because there's time. You don't have to rush into anything. I don't think 2023 is going to be the year to rush into the market necessarily. That's not what I'm doing. Putting more cash in my TFSA into PSA, the purpose savings, high interest savings. That's going to start to build up this year, and just to have it in a bit of cash. So if there's maybe some opportunity or something, then I can have it. That's what I'll be doing. So almost kind of like a bit more defensive, sort of, keeping in that, but nothing wrong with sitting in cash to kind of see. But good for you. Transferred over. There you are. I have to do some moving around for my before tax time for my RSP and stuff like that, but that's to be done pretty soon. Move stuff around. Yeah. Speaking of, there is some numbers. If you're looking at investment properties, MC, fixed rates are quite high. Definitely over 5. Yeah, they are. They came down a little bit, but they've kind of come back up, and it's definitely expensive. No, those low rates are gone. And obviously an investment property is higher rates too, right? So you have to make sure it doesn't always make sense to buy a lot of people did the last couple of years. A lot of people bought investment properties, but with the rates higher, the rents haven't caught up to, depending, on the cash flow for that. It was very hard, I think, just with the run up on prices for anything to kind of cash flow in a rental. I think a lot of people bought them not to necessarily cash flow, but to appreciate it in value. But as we all know, as investors in the market, you can't always count on appreciation. It probably is. I think the amount probably is it probably is 40 to 50, but a lot of people bought with the idea of appreciation, right? And it wasn't making sense. I think a lot of people that purchase were, people refinanced their home because the values went up, financed the rental property with a line of credit or refinanced however you wanted to do it. And then the rates increase and doesn't cash flow, but almost didn't cash flow anyways. Like if you're putting on a rental property, you have to put down 20%, right? You have to put down more than 20% or more. But even the way the prices were, I mean, different markets would be different. I don't know the whole country. I can only speak for kind of where I'm located, but or talking to my friend Rob in Ontario, it just didn't make sense. You put down 20%, and if you're not cash flowing, it's like people would still do it though, and it's like this doesn't make any sense, you know. And if the rent is only just covering stuff, you're not cash flowing because there's obviously other expense. You know, there's other expenses, let alone possible. Like no one takes in, none of the, not a lot of people took into account, you know, maintenance that would come up, vacancy that would possibly come up. You know, it's all fine and dandy when you have a renter, but if that renter has to, decides to leave and it sits empty for a month, you still have to make your rent payment. Or if the renter doesn't pay the rent for whatever reason, you still have to make that mortgage payment. So, yeah, it's your money could be probably put somewhere else better now. Obviously, like you'd make more money you'd make more return on a GIC these days, but yeah, people weren't treating it necessarily like a smart investment. It was lots of FOMO in the housing market for sure. So GTA, yeah, I don't know the GTA quite well other than talking to my friend there, but I knew it was kind of I was crazy, like, you know, Vancouver, you hear about it always, but Ontario was the same. I think all appreciation, no cash flow unless you're at maybe 40 down. It doesn't make sense. Even to break even, you know, you want to make money on it, but people, yeah, I mean, I'm not a real estate investor in terms of like homo, you know, I had a place, sold it. So sitting in cash, but yeah, but Ontario, and I know from reading on Twitter that the market is quite down here too, MC. So we'll have to see. Prices will come down, right? Prices just have to come down because the rates, people can't qualify outside GTA. Yeah, that's the same. It's the same out here. What happened was exactly the same thing happened in the Lower Mainland, MC. Not quite 2 to 4 hours out of Vancouver, but you know, a good hour. I mean, 2 hours on a bad traffic day or more. But the Fraser Valley, far east for Vancouver. I don't know if you know. I mean, obviously, Vancouver's downtown. As you go more east, the properties typically get less expensive, but there was a huge run up, obviously, because what everybody did was, it was the same, probably exactly the same thing. Pandemic, people were working from home. They realized they needed more space, and they basically the prices, they went out, and the prices went up as it started to go out as more people moved. So people would move out to where they could afford, and that would just kept bumping up prices. And people would go, and people just went too crazy. It didn't make sense, but you can't. It's like this irrational. It's like people forget that. I think a lot of people used the housing market as like a trade almost, or investment like that, and it's not as necessarily shelter, and it comes back to bite, you know, as we're seeing. And that's what happened, right? An hour. So it is about an hour from Vancouver to Chilliwack on a decent day traffic. I've driven the highway. I've driven that long time, a number of times, and sometimes it takes longer. I could not imagine commuting from Chilliwack to Vancouver for work. It would be not possible. I don't know how people do that every day. But it did used to be reasonable, right? You could get a house on some on a lot for a decent amount, but it ran up big time, and people were just buying them left, right, and center. A lot of them as rentals, because what they would do, Justin, and welcome, thanks for tuning in. They would refinance their places already and take out equity. But I think a lot of people, I think we'll see some stuff come. I think we'll see prices come down. We'll see. Outside that's what happened. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Rentals. I don't know that. I don't really know that GTA market that well, but I can only imagine it's much like here. Just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense right now. But a lot of people, what a lot of people did here is they bought rentals on the island, Vancouver Island, because the prices were still down. But then the prices kind of came up on the island. But the problem is if you're financing something, then depending what you're how you're borrowing, your rates have gone up, right? Variable rates gone up, that kind of stuff. Tough. Yeah. And they have, 2 to 4 hours of real estate coming down a lot hard, 30 to 50. It's not quite that high here yet. Maybe Ontario is a little bit, I think the run up in Ontario was because BC was always expensive, MC. Obviously Ontario was, Toronto was for sure, but BC was kind of always been, I think, even above that a little bit. So it hasn't had quite that same drop, but I think there's probably some coming not necessarily close to that, but yeah, be interesting. It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting coming 2023 to see what happens with stuff. I do see lots of stuff on Twitter that I follow MC where prices in Ontario are quite coming down quite hard. And that's the thing. Like that's what I was always. That was one thing I was always talking about was it's great you can work. I mean, I've worked from home for a number of years now, and my job is able to do it. But a lot of people shifted to remote and then moved, right? Sometimes up into the interior. I can only, BC, like moved quite far. But the issue is great that your job right now might allow you to work remotely. But what happens as soon as, and we talk about no jobs out there, what happens if you move 2 to 4 hours or longer from where the city is, right? Or where typically your job is, and you you get laid off, or you whatever, right? Get let go, whatever reason you switch jobs, because people move their jobs around a lot more now than what they used to. If you're in this market that is 2 to 4, let's just say out of the Greater Toronto area, and you have to find a new job, you have to look obviously remotely, ideally, but if a lot of places are turning back to in office, you have and all of a sudden you've bought 4 hours away, you can't commute that every day, and the jobs in those smaller areas aren't going to pay the same, but the prices are still up. It was interesting. I think in the next couple of years a lot will pan out from this. We'll have to see. And that's exactly what it is. People thinking like all of a sudden work from home is permanent. Hybrid, I think, is coming back a little bit more now for sure, because it is. But I was on the same page as you. I didn't necessarily. I think it accelerated a lot of possible shift to that way. But like you said, more hybrid, because I think obviously companies and stuff have these office spaces, and if no one's in there, it's like, what are they spending the money on? So yeah, it's definitely a big shift. Definitely a big shift. Yeah. So there'll be definitely some impact. Yeah. 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 I'm on like exactly the same page from you. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that my work has always kind of been remote in terms of, and like we have an office, but it's small, it's I haven't actually been there for probably 4 years now. It's just kind of a more administration anyway, so it was always very like that. So not much change for me, but a lot of people I know bought because their jobs turned remote, but then now they're having to come back, and like I can only speak, I can imagine, like Justin was mentioning Chilliwack, like people, if you work in the, if you're coming from the Lower Mainland and move out to Chilliwack and have to commute every day, your drive, you'd be ready to drive off a cliff at the end of a couple of months of doing that, and want to move closer, especially like the commute on the highway. That highway is terrible on the best of days, and I couldn't imagine having to do that every day. And but also too, don't forget the cost of everything too, right? The amount of gas you'd spend back and forth is just like, so we'll see prices come down because people are going to shift back to, because it's back to so just Chilliwack to Langley, and that's not as necessarily terrible of going right into town, but it's still, I mean, on a day with traffic, that's an hour. I think that's an hour it's a good 45 minutes. I think even on a decent day, you might be able to do it in half an hour when there's zero traffic at 4 a.m. But yeah, depending where you have to go. But it's just not a great highway, and it's just so many people out to the valley. It doesn't. For people that are watching from Ontario, the Highway 1 from kind of Langley past to Chilliwack, it's only like 2 lanes each way. So it's like sometimes bumper to bumper until you get past Chilliwack, and then it kind of opens up. But past Chilliwack is really nothing. Well, shouldn't say nothing, but nothing. No big cities or anything like that. Yeah, I can't stand it either. It's it is. It's I mean, I get why people take the bus or something like that and commute on a train if you're able to, because you can at least kind of do something, keep yourself occupied. But if you're driving, you have to pay attention, and it's just kind of like it's not fun. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather just go on a road trip when I'm able to and not have to worry about. And I always kind of say that when I go back to the city and stuff. It's like, I don't know how. Like if you ever have to go into town or something like that, and you're like, you drive into the city, you're like, for whatever reason, you're like, I can't believe people do this every day. Couldn't do it. And in the Lower Mainland here, there's the bridges and everything else, the tunnel, and just a nightmare to go, for sure. Yeah, my friend Rob always talks about the 401. I always see on Twitter too, the 401. It's I've only been to Ontario a couple times for like conferences and stuff like that, and so I'm obviously, I think the 401 goes to the airport. I could be wrong, but I just remember going on the airport, and it was kind of like, holy, there's a lot of traffic on this highway. But I didn't really go anywhere else other than downtown into Toronto, and then I was I forget the other. I want to say no, it wasn't Markham. I can't remember where the other part was for a conference where I stayed. It wasn't right down. It wasn't Toronto. It wasn't downtown, but it was kind of the outskirts of it. I can't remember. So long ago. But in Toronto, I was there. Toronto. It's nice. The waterfront's really nice though. Like able to walk around. It's a lot like Vancouver. It's obviously a lake instead of an ocean, but the water there is nice, and it's kind of obviously, I think it's colder than Vancouver, but it was nice city. Well, not little city, big city, but I didn't have to drive anywhere. Just took. I didn't stay. Yeah, I obviously flew into Pearson Airport, and then I took a taxi or car in downtown because the conference was downtown, or just on the outskirts of downtown. So I stayed downtown at a hotel, so I could kind of, because I'd never been there, so I stayed, and so I could kind of go right downtown and kind of go all around and see all the sites. So I went down to like the CN Tower, went up the CN Tower, did all the stuff that a tourist would do, basically. Saw the brewery that was there, the kind of touristy stuff. That was it. Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. I know audiobooks. It's funny, when I do a lot of driving now, I actually don't have the radio or anything on. I kind of like just the nothing, a lot of times. But I know a lot of people will listen to audiobooks, or like podcasts are good for that people will listen to on the commute, or put on like some kind of interview or something like that to listen to on commutes. And yeah, maybe well, they have the tunnels, right? They might get a tunnel. There's that tunnel in Vegas you can do. So maybe they'll start to do that from the boring company. Maybe we'll start to see that. Yeah, traffic's bad. But again, fortunate enough, I don't have to drive. I don't drive that much, which is good. I always love how it's already almost 1:45, but I always love how these streams go in like completely random. We start off in one talking about Brookfield asset management, then we gotta get on to teleportation. It's always kind of funny, but it's always good. It's always fun to see where things go. So if anybody has any, we're almost kind of like, this one always goes fast, these live streams. So we'll have to I'm looking forward to the next one. Obviously, it's the weekend coming up. Hopefully everybody does have a good weekend, whatever you're doing. The weather here is kind of lousy, lots of rain right now, but that's okay. I've got I'm going to be working on a bit of a channel update. I was away, so I had my new stuff show up. Of course, you get your shipments when you're not here, so I have to go down and pick that up today later on. So come Monday, there might be a few changes with the live stream. So I'm looking forward to that, but I have to get that sorted out on the weekend. And keep your eye out, because I might jump on the weekend as like a bit of a test just to kind of see. So there might be a sneak peek on the weekends, maybe figure some stuff out, because I got some new equipment to kind of set up that I have to make sure works before the Monday, the regular one. Yeah, you did. Sorry, you did MC. You did mention lithium. You have to let me know in the comments if there's any. I forget. Let me see if I've put any onto the watch list, and I'm gonna get that set up. I think there was one you mentioned. Hold on here. LTH, Lithium Ionic Corp, I think was one you mentioned. MC, LTH. I can put it in the chat. LTH.V, I believe. That was one. I'll show that there. LTH.V. I think that was your pick. I'll get these all set up into one watch list, and then I can be able to pull them up. If we're talking about stuff, we can jump in and look at them a little bit better. That's my project. Got lots of work to do. So we'll do that. I'll get that organized. There must be a way. I'll figure it out if we can tag it somehow so I can remember who. And you did mention that one. Okay. Well, you have to let us know so we can put on a watch list. It's always kind of fun. Bit of involvement between everybody. I think it'd be fun. Kind of put some stuff on that everybody's kind of watching. So I'll set up all mine that I have on the TFSA. I think I can kind of bookmark different ones and have different, but I'll have a channel. What I'll do, MC and everybody watching, I'll have the channel ones that are people's, kind of favorites that people are kind of watching or looking at or that kind of thing. So we'll do that. I think that'll be fun to kind of keep an eye on stuff, and then we can always kind of jump on and see how they're doing. And hopefully there might be one or two that someone has that takes off and does well for them. That's always good to see. There we go. So that I'm going to start to wrap up. Thanks for everybody that is watching. I've had a couple days off, so I have to get back to a bit of work today before the weekend gets sorted out. And if you haven't already, I always like to kind of say it once. Don't forget. There we go. Got my banner set up. Don't forget to like the stream if you haven't hit that like button yet. It really helps with the channel. Channel's growing. We actually got a few subscribers over the last few days, which is kind of nice. Maybe that's a good sign for the market. If the subscriber count is increasing, I think maybe the market, people are getting a bit more interested in the market, so we can see. I think as we get out of this bear, I think we'll start to see some more people joining the stream, carrying forward as people get more interested. It seems like as prices go up, people get that the FOMO comes in, I guess, in terms of wanting to come and get back in. So we might see some more visitors. But I do appreciate everybody that takes the time out of their morning or afternoon, I guess, depending where you are, to spend an hour with me. It's always good. Always good group of people. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. We will be back on Monday, 8 o'clock. We'll leave you a little bit now. Let's relax with the fire as we sign off. Have a good weekend. It's always good. Thanks, everybody.